Hey guys, and welcome on into the next NHL season preview show. And today we're going to be talking all about the Edmonton Oilers, looking at their 2023-2024 season preview. And to do that with me is Ryan at No Pepper Picks. Make sure to go give him a follow. The link to his Twitter is in the description below. Make sure to give him a follow. Ryan, we're going to jump right into it here, and we're going to take a look at the Edmonton Oilers and their offseason here, additions and subtractions. Basically, how I see it, they added some depth guys, and then Connor Brown. Connor Brown is the bigger addition. I think the other guys are depth guys that may be in or out of the lineup. But the big addition was Connor Brown. Looking at who left, um, again, they lost some depth guys. Mike Smith was way past his prime. He'll probably never play again. Nick Bjugstad went back to Arizona. Jason Demers, Kleppbaum hasn't played in a long time. A lot of depth guys. Kaylor Yamamoto, which was sent to Detroit, who then got bought out, and then now he's with his home state of the Seattle Kraken. So we'll see how he does there. Um, Overall, for the Oilers, it's a big list, additions and subtractions, but I think it's pretty even of an offseason. Slight improvement if Connor Brown plays well and if he does play on the top line with McDavid and does well, then it'll be a good addition for the Oilers. So I don't think they got overly better, but I don't think they got overly worse either. Kind of an even offseason, additions and subtractions, in my opinion. Ryan, what do you think here for the Oilers and their additions and subtractions?
Well, we know the Oilers have this core group of really good players, right? You know, McDavid and Draisaitl. So these aren't really big names, and it's not going to change the team that much. And I'm looking at the biggest name on this list, and I agree with you 100%. It's Connor Brown. He was with the Capitals last year, but was injured all last year, and he's kind of custom fit for the top line. He's a guy that's going to skate the puck through the neutral zone and give it to the guys that are going to score on that line. So you got to figure that he's got to be the luckiest hockey player ever. You know, he goes from a rebuilding situation in Washington and now is playing alongside one of the best hockey players in the world. Um, Lane Pedersen, I know him from playing alongside Elias Pettersson in Vancouver. Although he's bounced around a bunch in the league, he was on the Blue Jackets roster and was in the AHL last year. I think he's going to be, penciled on the fourth line. And he's a good, talented player. Drake Caggiula just got put on waivers, so he's not going to make the team. And I agree. A lot of these subtractions aren't that big a deal. Devin Shore is on the Kraken roster, but I doubt he makes the team there. Kyler Yamamoto, I think what happens here is the Oilers are going to get a slight upgrade. I think they're going to get he was playing on the second line last year. And when you put Connor Brown in the top line with McDavid and Evander Kane, you now have a little bit better of a second line with Nugent Hopkins. So in my mind, the Oilers get slightly better and because of the addition of Connor Brown.
For sure, I agree. We'll take a look at upcoming free agents, at who the Oilers have to focus on re-signing in the offseason here. And his name and picture is in here because it'll be the next following season, but Draisaitl will be an upcoming free agent the following year. So he still has one more year to go if the Oilers don't re-sign him. Obviously, he's a guy that they should be focusing in on. But looking at the guys here, I have his picture here as being the main player that I would be focusing on re-signing, and that's Dylan Holloway. He is an RFA. He is one of the top prospects that the Oilers have offensively, and definitely I'd be looking to re-sign him. Don't think it's going to overly break the bank unless he has a really, really good season this year. But I'd be re-signing Holloway. I'd re-sign Lavoie as well. Fogel, Janmark, those guys are replaceable in the free agency. Maybe one of them gets re-signed. I think both defensemen you could potentially let go. Maybe re-sign Marcus Niemelainen. who's an RFA. And the goaltenders, Calvin Pickard, you could let go. I don't think he should be seeing any time on the Oilers roster if they want to be a contender this year. And then the two RFAs, again, re-sign them, probably really cheap deals. They won't break the bank either. But Dylan Holloway, I think, is by far the main guy to re-sign here. Connor Brown, if he has a really good season, if he fits in well with the Oilers, they probably re-sign him too. Ryan, upcoming free agents, not an overall big list here, but who do you think the Oilers should focus on re-signing?
No, I also agree with you on this one. I think what's important is the future and looking year ahead to 24, 25, 26. And do you re-sign Draisaitl and McDavid? And do you want to make these guys career Oilers? And that may be the path that the franchise goes. And that's the important decision that they're going to have to make in the future. One thing about the Oilers is that they don't have a lot of roster spots, but somehow they've managed to develop a young core group of players. And Dylan Holloway is one of them. He got drafted in 2019. He had some early career injury issues. He ended up in the Oilers roster in the playoffs 2 years ago. Also was on the roster last year, but playing in center, which is not his natural position. Had some injury issues as well. I don't think we've seen really scratch the surface of what his potential is. And I think this is going to be a big year for him. So I think he's a good young player, and he's probably the number one talent in the roster right now. And we get to see what he'll bring to the team. Rafi Lavoie is another guy that's going to be talented and also was drafted in 2019. So it remains to be seen what contributions he'll make. He probably ends up in Bakersfield playing in the minors. As far as defensemen, Vinny Desharnais, he's basically like the Zdeno Chara type. He's this really big, nasty defenseman. And there is a mold for that guy being successful in this league. I'm not sure if he's the guy. I think he was a first-round draft pick originally. So the team may have some commitment to him, but we'll see how he plays out this year.
Yeah, for sure. We'll go on to the next segment, which is taking a look at the possible lineup. Of course, this is according to Daily Faceoff, and of course, the lineup could very well change from now until the regular season. Taking a look at the top line, projected to be Evander Kane, Connor McDavid, and Connor Brown. So a very good first line. The second line, Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, and Hyman. A very, very good second line. And I know the top line has McDavid on it, but I really like that second line. I think you can compete with the top line with that second line, I think. The third line there, Holloway, who we've talked about, McLeod and Janmark. Good overall third line. Holloway is going to be someone I'm going to be looking at for player props. Probably going to get a very good price for him. Make sure to tune in on the channel because I will be doing a player prop every team, going through every team and looking at player props that I'll be targeting in the regular season. So make sure to tune into that video. Fogle, Peterson, Ryan on the bottom pair. Some other guys as well trying to make it on that bottom line. The defense, Nurse and Bouchard. Bouchard is getting his big opportunity here. Kulak and Cece on the second one. Broberg, Desharnais on the third defensive pair. And then the goaltenders, Jack Campbell and Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard here. Edmonton, it's always been about their goaltending. That's always been the question mark here for the Oilers. Can they get good enough goaltending? They make it to the playoffs, but they have yet to make it past the conference finals over the last 4 seasons. And I do realize that I don't have Matthias Ekholm on here. So either he's hurt right now or for some reason he just didn't make it. But Alstad is a very important defenseman who should be on this list, but he's not. Um, Ryan, what do you think here? Possible lineup for the Oilers?
Well, we know what the Oilers are, right? They're the number one scoring team in the league. They outscored the next best team by 25 goals, and they have had a historically high uh, percentage power play last year. So they only started keeping statistics about power plays in the mid to late 70s, and so they're number one historically in terms of power play. And in my mind, that's because the talent of these players, and also they're used to playing with each other. So we're going to see more of that, right? We're going to see the chemistry that they have and their ability to and their skill put to work on the power play. And it's really these top two lines have all the talent. We've seen guys like Matthias Janmark and Warren Fogle move up in the lineup back last year when Evander Kane got injured with limited success. They're probably not ready for the big time to be in these top two lines, but they're talented players in their own right. Uh, I personally think that the Oilers can be slightly better this year. They could get Evander Kane healthy for a full season. Connor Brown is a question mark. We think he's going to make a contribution here, and I think these top two lines get better. There's some interesting names down in that bottom line. Brandon Sutter hasn't played in the league in the last 2 years because of medical issues, and he may make the team, so he could be an interest. Sam Gagner, we brought up in the Winnipeg season preview. He's sort of an end of the career guy that may make the roster. The thing about the Oilers is they have so much depth and such a wealth of players is that they're going to have to put one of these guys on waivers, and they're probably just going to get picked up by another NHL team. That's how much talent they have. They have a really large defensive core with Nurse and Bouchard being the top pair. Bouchard is Mr. Bushbaum, right? Because he's known for his hard slap shot. He had 12 goals from the blue line 2 years ago. So the thought was that he may develop into this 20-goal scorer from the blue line. And well, that didn't work out quite that well, although he did play well in the playoffs last year. But he is an offensive threat to go along with Darnell Nurse. And you mentioned Matthias Ekholm, who came over from Nashville in the trade deadline last year, and he's going to be the steady hand of the defense. He's the veteran presence, and he may also play with his Swedish countryman Philip Broberg in an offensive pairing. Broberg's another guy from the 2019 draft, and I think he's part of this young, smaller core that they have, and his time is now, right? They're giving him a long look to be able to make a contribution to this team, and I think there's a lot of positivity that he's going to be one of the players in the future for this team as well. The goalie situation is interesting. Jack Campbell's the guy that's making all the money, but Stuart Skinner is the number one goalie. And I think it's possible there could be a shift. It's possible that Jack Campbell could start pulling his own weight. And, it could be more of a 1A, 1B this year as opposed to last year. So that remains to be seen. I think they're doing pretty well in the goaltending department personally.
Yeah, Stuart Skinner, if he takes that step forward, if Edmonton gets anything average or slightly above average goaltending, they're a scary team. I have updated the possible lineup here while Ryan was talking. So things have changed when it comes to the defensemen. Now, Daily Faceoff has Nurse and Cece, Ekholm and Bouchard, and then Kulak and Desjardins. So different possible lineups, which will change throughout preseason. So things will change here, but overall, a pretty good lineup here for the Oilers, especially when they have McDavid and Draisaitl. Taking a look here at future bets for the Oilers, their point total is at 106.5, 109 points last year, 104 the season before. So the books are thinking maybe the Oilers take a small step back this season, a few points. Personally, I have no opinion on the point total. Make the playoffs. Yes, I minus 750. Obviously, I'm not playing that, but don't see the Oilers missing the playoffs unless there is long-term injuries that really hurt the team. It would take quite a bit of injuries, I think, for the Oilers to miss the playoffs. Really bad. It would take a really bad situation. So that's why it's minus 750. No play on that for me. President's Trophy at plus 800 is interesting. Of course, if the Oilers want to make a deep run in the playoffs, they don't want to win the President's Trophy, but it's there. Um, the next three bets: division, conference, and Stanley Cup. The Oilers are a contender, I think. I have them as in my power rankings, which we'll get to the power ranking show as well coming up on the channel. But I have the Oilers pretty high on my power rankings for this year. Looking at the player props, Draisaitl goals is at 50.5. He had 52 last year. So he had a great offensive season. 50.5 is a high goal total, though. As great as Draisaitl is, that's a really high total to take in a player prop. And then looking at other high totals, we have McDavid points, which is at 135.5. He did have 153 last year in 82 games played. If he plays 82 games, I think he can definitely hit the point total. But again, 135.5 is a really high total. And losing any kind of games to injury could hurt that. So no interest there for me either. Skinner wins. He had 29 last year. His total's at 31.5 this year. And that's tough. If Skinner plays better than Campbell, he will get more starts and he can hit that. He could potentially hit that over 31 and a half. But if Skinner struggles and Campbell plays better, then Skinner's not going to be able to hit that. So the Oilers have question marks in goal on who will be their starter. So I'm not taking a goalie win total when he is not 100% going to be the starter for the team. I couldn't recommend that. Draisaitl to win the Rocket Richard, meaning to score the most goals. I know Connor McDavid, who had 12 more goals than Draisaitl last year. But I could see an instance where McDavid gets more assists this year and maybe the goal scoring goes elsewhere. That's why it's at the price that it is, but no play there for me. And the last one is who will have more points, Edmonton or Colorado? Obviously, being a Wild fan, I hope Edmonton has more points than Colorado, but as a betting man, that's a really tough bet to make either way. I think they could be really close. If I had to choose, I'd probably go with Colorado, but it's not a play officially for me. Ryan, future bets for the Oilers. Does anything on this list catch your eye?
Yes, and I've made a couple of bets on this list, and I've made one that's not on this list as well. I think the point total is kind of lofty. We don't. There could be a lot of circumstances. They had a really good year last year in terms of scoring and as well as points. So I don't really like them to push those lofty expectations higher. Except I do like this President's Trophy number because the Oilers are not the type of team that have to find success by getting hot in the playoffs. They're a team that can win night in and night out. And in my mind, they're the type of team that's going to contend for the President's Trophy. Like they're a known commodity. There may be ups and downs during the season. There may be ups and downs in the playoffs, but over that 80 plus game stretch, they're going to be as good as any team in the league, in my opinion. So I kind of like this President's Trophy number, and I've sprinkled a little bit on that. Now the Stanley Cup this year, there's a ton of parity, and there's a lot of teams right around this plus 1,000 number. And in my mind, the best investments in that number come from the longer odds and looking at some other teams that might get hot in the playoffs. So I'm not taking a bite of the apple in this Stanley Cup number personally. One thing I will say is that one of the reasons the Oilers are successful is because of Jay Woodcroft. And since he's taken over for Tippett, he's got something like a 73% winning percentage, just, ridiculously high. So I think, you really have to give credit to their coaching. And I also like him for that Jack Adams Award, which is like plus 1,500, which I think is a good value for him to win Coach of the Year at the end of the season. There's a lot that goes into that award, and it does not necessarily go into the best team at the end, but I think there's a good value for him on that. I'm not personally getting involved in any player props over the season. I do kind of like this Edmonton Colorado head-to-head matchup, and in my mind, I need to see it first from Colorado. Right? They were really good and won the Stanley Cup 2 years ago. They were decimated by injuries, and they never really got back up to that plateau. So in my mind, I kind of need to see it first. And I think there's value on Edmonton beating Colorado head-to-head in a matchup this year.
Oh, no. That's not who. That's who will have more points like overall in the regular season.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. And that is the Edmonton Oilers season preview show. Make sure to give Ryan a follow at No Pepper Picks. You can follow me as well at Let's Go Wild Picks. Both of our Twitter links are in the description below. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next NHL season preview show. Thank you everyone so much for watching this NHL season preview show. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons as we continue on breaking down all 32 NHL teams, which will lead to the regular season when the Getting Wild with Terry and Friends NHL betting show will return. Thank you everyone for watching. Of course, make sure to follow everyone in the description below that was on today's show to show them some support. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you on the next show.